If you told me that a game series that started with fighting demons and taking down Hitler would go on to be the same game series that would gain global popularity and change the lives of countless people, including myself, I would call you crazy. But Atlus somehow pulled it off with Persona. Persona is a Japanese RPG series made by Atlus, a subsidiary company of Sega. The series started nearly 30 years ago as a spin-off to the Shin Megami Tensei games. However, the games didn't always have global popularity and such impact. Well, actually, I don't know about impact. I still gotta play Persona 1 and 2. Anyways, Atlus single-handedly made Persona mainstream with one game, launching the Persona series into what I like to call the Golden Age of Persona. This Golden Age is made up of 3 different games, the one that made it mainstream, the one that made it globally popular, and the one I like to call the middle child of the 3. We'll be talking about all 3 and then deciding which of them is the best at the end of the video. Also, this is my first video essay, so tell me how I do. I love criticism. Alright, enough yapping, let's get to the good shit. When the Persona series was first coming out, and by that I mean 1 and 2, it wasn't particularly popular worldwide, or even in Japan. It had more of a niche community compared to other JRPGs. The number of copies sold tells it all. The original releases of mainstream JRPGs like Pokemon, Final Fantasy, and Dragon Quest sold millions, while the Persona games didn't even break 500,000. However, there was one game that Atlus was going to release that would redefine the Persona series entirely: Persona 3. Persona 3 completely reinvented the Persona series for the better in so many different ways, all while being the highest selling Persona game yet. It introduced an entirely new style of gameplay where the player would have to balance dungeon crawling at nighttime with living the life of an ordinary high schooler during the day. I really think this addition of adding more social aspects to the game is really what helped bring fans in. People could learn more about these characters while also being able to relate to the life that they were making the protagonists live. Not to forget that it was also the first Persona game to add social links, which became an integral part of the series going forward. These social links came with the idea that strengthening your bonds was the best way to become stronger, encouraging the player to learn more about the characters of the game and appreciate their writing and the lessons that they convey. Although those are the most noteworthy additions, it was also the first game to have a cool ass aesthetic using a set color palette, cool menus, and fire music. However, we'll get more into those things when we rank the games at the end. As you may know, Atlus has been releasing several different remakes for the Persona games, and although some people will say that they're unnecessary, I would say that this is one of the best decisions that Atlus can make when it comes to making the Persona franchise mainstream. Persona 5 introduced the series to an entirely new demographic and made the franchise popular worldwide. And I think Atlus knows that the best way to capitalize on this is by making remakes of the older games so that fans could appreciate a similar experience. Yeah, all the different Persona 5 spin-offs are nice, but what they're doing with all these remakes is a step in the right direction. The old Persona games are beautiful and can still provide a great experience to players, but the games do show their age. Like, what the fuck is this dungeon crawler? That's why people like me are so excited for these remakes. They can show people new to the Persona series the great games that they missed out on in better ways than the originals probably could. For example, 5 years ago, after I finished Persona 4 Golden when it came out on Steam, I realized I was struck with the Persona virus, and I tried to find any game that could do what Persona 4 did for me. That's when I decided to try and play Persona 3 Fez, but after about an hour of playing, I put the controller down and never picked up that game again. Now at the time, if you were to give me Persona 3 Reload, I think things would have played out very differently. You see, things like the gameplay of the original Persona 3 turned me away. Who at Atlus had the dumb idea to not let you control your own party members? That's the dumbest shit ever. If only I knew the story that I was missing out on when I put down that controller. I missed out on so much, and I had to wait 5 years for a remake so I could properly enjoy the story and themes that Persona 3 was trying to convey. Earlier this year, when I played Persona 3 Reload, I had so much fun, and it finally scratched that Persona itch that I had. I learned about so many good characters, learned so many life lessons, and got to hear some absolute bangers. Now, what happened to me probably happened to lots of other people besides myself, and could happen to someone who is new to the Persona franchise. But by making remakes, Atlus is letting their players experience more of the Persona series in a way that they should, with good gameplay, great graphics, and amazing music. And although this may mean having to wait for Persona 6 even longer, If I could replay Persona 4 with most of its flaws gone and show this game that I love to the new Persona audience, then I think that Atlus is right to make these remakes for Persona to help it be mainstream. Speaking of mainstream, let's talk about Persona 5. Although Persona 5 was announced in 2013, when the Persona series wasn't exactly mainstream, when it was released in late 2016, it became a worldwide hit. Millions of copies were sold, critics couldn't get enough, and fans were dying for more. Persona 5 had all the aspects of the past two games, but something about it must have resonated with fans. It could have been the game's wonderful graphics, beautiful soundtrack, unforgettable characters, important themes, or maybe the fact that they made the dungeon crawling actually fun and unique. Persona 5 connected with people across the world and showed them the beauty and depth the series has to offer. I mean, I'm no different. Like others, Persona 5 was the first game I ever heard about when it came to the Persona series, and even though I couldn't play it, the game stuck with me. When I was growing up, I never had a PS4, and if you didn't know, back then, the Persona games were PlayStation exclusives. But either way, I would keep hearing about this game, Persona 5. That's when I found out about the GOAT Johnny Awesome and his 137 episode series of the original Persona 5. I wasn't exactly in the best spot in life. I won't get too specific, but a family member of mine was not doing too well and my family would visit them in the hospital very often. Even just watching Persona 5 helped me get through these tough times, and I want to seriously thank Johnny Awesome for having these videos and just being an amazing YouTuber. It would be really cool if you saw this video, but I'm getting off topic. 3 years after Persona 5's initial release, Atlus released Persona 5 Royal, the more refined version of the game with extra content. Now, I saw this, but at the time I still didn't have a PS4, so I waited. And then I learned that Persona 5 Royal would be releasing on every platform in 2022. When it came out, I bought that game quicker than I have ever bought any game, and I played it pretty much blind. I never watched Persona 5 Royal, and I mostly forgot the story of Persona 5, so I had no idea about the new characters, and oh my god. I could make a whole nother video on some of these characters, but if you want to see that, let me know in the comments. Anyway, once I finished Persona 5 Royal, I felt things that no game has ever made me feel. Atlus made an amazing game, and Persona 5 deserves to be popular worldwide. However, that doesn't mean that they should milk Persona 5 like how they're doing. Now we know Persona 5 was popular, but I think when Atlus realized how popular it was, they got an idea. For perspective, when not counting the Q games, Persona 3 has like one spin-off and Persona 4 has 3. But Atlus decided to give Persona 5 4 different spin-offs, pretty much in a row as well. People who like the old Personas are starving when it comes to spin-offs. Like, we get it, Persona 5 has a great cast and everyone likes it, but show some of the old games some love. I mean, you have so much to work with. I mean, look at Persona 4. Oh, Persona 4. Dear Persona 4, from the moment I bought you on Steam to when I had to put the controller down for the final time, I knew one thing was real. I fell in love with you. A love so deep Sorry, we're getting off topic. Between Persona 3 and 5 is Persona 4, which, in my opinion, is the best Persona game. Persona 4 takes place in the small town of Inaba, a rural town in the countryside of Japan. By the way, I recently learned that it was based on a real town that I really want to visit now. Anyways, even though the game takes place in a small town, the player is welcome to many different characters that make up the best cast in my opinion. I won't get too into the story or plot of the game, but all you need to know is that you follow a group of teenagers who are trying to solve a murder mystery. Now, when it comes to Persona 4 being a part of Persona's golden age, I kinda like to consider it the middle child of the 3 games, and not in a literal sense. When the game came out in 2008, it was a hit. I mean, it wasn't globally popular like Persona 5 would become, but it was still a great game. In fact, it was such a great game that Atlus decided to make 3 spin-offs from it. It was a success at the time, but when compared to Persona 3 and 5 nowadays, I start to see fewer people calling it their favorite Persona game. A large part of this probably has to do with the fact that Persona 5 has the Royal version, which is pretty up to date, and Persona 3 got a remake in 2024, which leaves players to play a somewhat outdated game when it comes to Persona 4. Atlus is working on this though. They are in the process of making a Persona 4 remake, but as it stands in 2025, from what I can see, Persona 4 gets treated like the middle child of the 3 games. Not particularly everyone's favorite, a little ignored or neglected in the fandom, but it's still there. Also, I hope what I'm saying doesn't stop anyone from playing the game. In fact, I highly encourage you to play this game. It will make you feel things other games cannot. After all, it is my favorite Persona game. Either way, I am curious how the other games stack up to it. I think it's time to rank the 3. Also, if you've made it this far, I'd really appreciate it if you were to subscribe. It helps out a lot, and I'm sorry for interrupting. Let's get back to the video. So, we've learned that these games have completely changed everything for the Persona series, and brought it to where it is today. But we gotta end this video on a high note. It's time to finally determine which of these Persona games is the best. Alright, to do this, we're gonna rank the Persona games in 10 different categories. Each game will get up to 3 points depending on where it stands compared to the others. Now, these rankings literally cannot be objective, so please don't raise any pitchforks to my opinions and accept that you're wrong. With that aside, it's ranking time. I'm not gonna lie, picking the best soundtrack from the games is a really hard decision. Persona 3 has such groovy music that's full of emotion, Persona 4 has a bunch of comforting music that makes me nostalgic, and Persona 5's rebellious rock music is absolutely incredible. But overall, I think the game with the best music is Persona 3, followed by Persona 4 and then 5. As someone who listens to the music in real life, I have some of the songs on my playlist. This was a hard decision to make, but Persona 3 has some bangers that cannot be topped. When it comes to story, unfortunately, I already knew that Persona 4 was going to be last. It has such a simple premise that's too hard to expand upon, but I digress. This leaves Persona 3 and 5, and although they both have amazing stories, for the majority of Persona 5 I feel as if the story is kinda stagnant and it doesn't really go anywhere until you have your full party. However, Persona 3 tells its story throughout the entire game, and the story it tells is absolutely beautiful. The ending is genuinely one of the best endings I've ever seen in a video game. Hell, maybe it's one of the best endings I've seen in all of fiction. Anyways, Persona 3 takes this one, followed by Persona 5 and then 4. If you don't know the difference between story and plot, think of story as everything, like the themes, character development, events and whatnot, while plot is just the events and the why, when, and how they happen. Now that that's established, I would say that Persona 3 also has the best plot, followed by Persona 5 and then 4. It makes sense that this is the same ranking as the last one considering plot falls under story, but I could be wrong about that. I'm not a professional writer, so correct me if I'm wrong. The protagonists of the Persona games are pretty much just silent characters so that the player could put themselves in the protagonist's shoes. There is the exception of Aigis, but admittedly, I haven't touched Persona 3 episode Aigis, so we won't talk about her here. The characters do have some emotion despite what some may think. You can see this in the anime and the manga of the game, and also the fact that some do what others can't, if you know what I mean. Also, the characters actually have canon names. For example, Persona 5's protagonist is Ren Amamiya, Persona 4's is Yu Narukami, and Persona 3's is Makoto Yuki. Anyway, if I had to rank the protagonist, I would say that Ren is the best, followed by Yu, and then Makoto. From what I've seen of the animes, Joker definitely has the most personality, and Makoto low-key barely has one. He did crack though, so I gotta put some respect on his name. Persona is filled with tons of different antagonists that help get the theme across in the game. They could represent the theme of the game or even reject the theme of the game. For example, the antagonist of Persona 3 represents the theme in an amazing way, and the final antagonist of Persona 5 rejects the theme in such a convoluted way that it started making me rethink my ideals. Honestly, I could make a whole nother video essay just on this character, but that's been done quite a few times before, so I probably won't. With that being said, Persona 5 takes the cake when it comes to antagonist, followed by Persona 3 and then 4. Don't get me wrong, Nyx is an amazing antagonist, but bro, Maruki had me rethinking whether or not he was even a villain. There's no contest for who's number 1 here, it's Persona 4. The Persona 4 cast is just so goddamn good, I find it hard not to love them. If you can look through that entire cast and tell me you don't like at least one character, then you're simply a liar. Now, I'm not gonna lie, deciding who's second best is pretty hard, but I think I'm gonna have to give it to Persona 5, for obvious reasons. Sojiro. You can't replace Sojiro, he's the GOAT. I think the answer for who's number 1 is pretty obvious here. Persona 5's palaces kinda carry its whole gameplay and set it apart from the other Persona games in terms of dungeon crawling. There's also small other things that Persona 5 does during battle that make it really good, but I won't go over those. Although Persona 3 and 4 both have pretty linear dungeon crawling, I will say Persona 3's dungeon crawling is better. Granted, I did play Persona 3 Reload and not the original. I probably would give the original Persona 3 negative points here because it doesn't let you control your party members, which is low-key why I dropped it in the first place when I tried picking it up. And when it comes to Persona 4 dungeon crawling, it's not bad, it's not great, just mid. Every Persona game has amazing themes that they convey throughout the course of the game. Persona 3 has themes of death, accepting death, and finding the meaning of life. Persona 4 has themes of truth, identity, and self-acceptance. And Persona 5 has themes of rebellion, justice, and freedom. I'm not gonna lie, this category is really hard to rank, but I think I have to give the number 1 spot to Persona 3, followed by Persona 4, and then Persona 5. Persona 3's theme is definitely the best, and one that I think everybody should look into. Death is a very important part of life. I mean, after all, you can't have one without the other. But I think we should all accept the end that we're eventually gonna meet. Persona 4 also helped me realize how important the truth is and made me start looking for the truth in everyday life, in things big or small. Also, don't get me wrong, Persona 5's themes are good, but they just didn't really resonate with me since I already agreed with all its themes and didn't really learn anything new. Now, I think we can all agree that Atlus is the GOAT when it comes to establishing atmosphere. I mean, the menus, the colors, the music, everything they do is just mwah, magnificent. But when it comes to which of these Persona games has the best atmosphere, I think I'm gonna have to give it to Persona 5, even though Persona 3 is a close second. Persona 5 is just so goddamn good at establishing the atmosphere that even its opening kinda gives you a sense of the game's atmosphere. And also, the game is just so aesthetically pleasing. I mean, look at these menus! Now, Persona 4 is last, but I won't lie, it does have the chance to become number 1 here once Persona 4 Revival is released, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Every time I was watching the credits roll after completing these games, that was usually when I realized how much the game had impacted me. And each one does an amazing job at impacting the player by teaching them a handful of lessons, showing them characters that they could strive to be like, and maybe even being a game that the player could turn to during hard times. Now, for me personally, I would have to say that Persona 4 had the most impact for me, followed by Persona 3, and then 5. I don't know why, maybe it's just because it was my first Persona game, but Persona 4 just has a special place in my heart. Alright, now that we've gone over all the categories, it's time to see which Persona game is the best. By the way, this was a very close win, with the winner winning by 1 point. Anyways, the best Persona game is, drumroll please, Persona 3 Reload with 22 points. Persona 5 Royal had 21 points and Persona 4 had 17, which surprises me because it's my favorite Persona game and still is despite this ranking. Hopefully Persona 4 Revival will give it the features it needs to be a perfect 10 out of 10 game. Anyway, let me know in the comments which game is your favorite. And now that we're done, Teddy, spin that shit. Thank you so much for watching. This was my first video essay, so I really hope you enjoyed it. I would love to hear any criticisms you have of this video, so please leave them in the comments down below. Just so you know, video essays aren't going to be the main thing I upload on this channel. I am going to upload gaming shit, IRL stuff, or whatever the hell I feel like. Even with that in mind, you should still subscribe if you enjoyed me. And I also do have more video essays in mind. Anyways, I have a Twitch where I might stream playing games with my friends or random games by myself. And I also have a Discord where you could get notified about when I'm live and progress updates on my next video. Again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Okay, bye bye now!